so today we are going to do a tutorial about pelvic floor anatomy. Now, it is very interesting to know that 1 in every 3 women do experience urinary incontinence. That means decreased control over their urinary flow. That means, in other words, leakage of urine with activities of daily life like walking, running, jumping. Okay, 1 in 3 women. 1 in 2 women do end up experiencing pain with intimacy after giving birth. No one talks about these symptoms and no one discusses these thinking that this is normal. But actually, this is not. It is common, but really not normal. So today we are going to talk about pelvic floor anatomy. This is going to help you understand the exact structure of the pelvis, and that way you could explain if you ever experience any kind of pelvic symptoms, you're able to accurately explain to your doctor or your healthcare provider as to what is hurting, where is hurting, and what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to use a close to life-size model of the pelvis. Okay, so this is a very close to life-size model of a female pelvis. Anything that's white is a bone and anything that's pink in this model is a muscle. So let's look at this pelvic floor from the bottom. We have 3 openings to the pelvic floor. 1 is the urethral opening. So that's basically the area from which urinary output comes, your urine flows, right? The second is your vaginal opening. That's your opening to the vagina, and the third is the rectal opening. So you see how closely all these muscles, the pink structures, are associated with these 3 openings, correct? So that actually is the layer 1 of the pelvic floor. So pelvic floor is actually made up of 3 layers. Okay, the most superficial layer is the layer 1. This is the bulbospongiosus, that means the muscle that covers around the labia. So remember that the labia has been taken out from the model. This is the bulbospongiosus, and underneath, if you see, the blue structure here is actually, interestingly enough, it's the part of the clitoris. Okay, so that's layer 1. Now this point right here is actually the merging point, or the point where all the muscles come together. In New York, I explained to my patients as the Grand Central Terminal of the pelvic floor, where all the muscles of layer 1 come together. Okay, so this is the area where a lot of times we tear when we give birth. Also, there's episiotomy that's done right here. So if there's a scarring that happens in this area, that could massively affect the way your pelvic floor works. Okay, so let's remove the layer 1 and look inside. So layer 2 of your pelvis is actually a sphincteric layer. That means these muscles actually form the sphincters, or the closures of the urethra. That means the tubes that come out of your pelvis, right? Your urethra, your vagina. So all these muscles form sphincters. So that's layer 2, not so glamorous. Okay, let's look into layer 3. So if you ever had any issues with the pelvis, a lot of times your doctor must have explained a word called levator ani. Okay, so levator ani muscles are a group of muscles that we call as the layer 3 muscles of your pelvic floor. These muscles go from the front, that means your pubis, to the back, that means your sacrum. Okay, actually not the sacrum but the coccyx, the tailbone. These muscles are actually 3 in number, and as a group they are called levator ani. Okay, so let's try and see what these muscles look like. So the puborectalis is the muscle that goes from the pubis, the front bone of your pelvis, and goes around the rectum to come back to the pubis. That's your puborectalis muscle. The next one is your ischio-coccygeus. That means it goes from the side, loops around, comes back. And the third one is the coccygeus muscle. It directly attaches to the coccyx bone. So if you have any history of fall on your tailbone, that's a very pertinent information you need to share with your healthcare provider or your doctor. Okay, the function of these levator ani muscles is to lift the pelvic floor up. Okay, remember, the innermost layer of your pelvic floor is responsible for lifting. So the outer layer basically is going to help you squeeze the pelvic floor. Okay, so remember, the outer layer squeezes, the inner layer lifts. Okay, why is this important? Because I'm going to show you a series of videos after this in which I'm going to share how Kegel exercises need to be done in a correct way so that you get good results from doing Kegels. And this information at that time is going to be extremely relevant. Okay, so remember, the outer layer squeezes, the innermost layer lifts. All right, so I think that's enough for today for the tutorial. I hope you like this video. If you find this information interesting and informative, useful, try and share this with all your friends. This is a topic that's not discussed very often, and if it is, it's discussed with a taboo associated. My mission to doing these videos is to actually empower each and every woman out there to know what is accurate and what is scientifically or evidence-based in the pelvic floor world. So please please share, and let all of us be empowered through this information and help us on our journey to recovery and health of our core and pelvic floor. This is Dr. Amruta Inamdar from New York. I have a brick and mortar practice here in New York. I also see patients online. Hope to see you soon.